Washington, this is VOA News. U.S. holding crucial congressional elections. NATO says it's been looking at Russian troops moving closer to the Ukraine border. I'm Ray Kouguell reporting from Washington. With Americans at the polls Tuesday to elect a new Congress, President Obama says Senate Democrats face what could be the toughest races since the Republicans lost 13 seats in 1958 under President Dwight Eisenhower. A third of the Senate's 100 seats are at stake in Tuesday's elections. President Obama says many of the states with contested Senate races tend to tilt Republican. Many political analysts say Republicans are poised to win the 6 seats needed to seize control of the chamber from Mr. Obama's Democratic Party, which now holds a 55-seat working majority. Republicans are also expected to expand their solid majority in the House of Representatives, where all 435 seats are up for grabs. Opposition leaders in Burkina Faso have called off protests as they continue holding talks with the country's military leadership on forming a government of national consensus. The military took control last Friday after longtime President Blaise Compaoré resigned in the face of protests against his effort to amend the Constitution to allow him to run for another term. It appointed Lieutenant Colonel Isaac Zita as the interim president. NATO says it's observed Russian troops moving closer to the Ukraine border. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg says the alliance has seen the maneuvers as Moscow continues to support separatists with equipment and special forces in eastern Ukraine. A pro-Russian rebel leader was sworn in Tuesday as the head of a self-declared People's Republic in eastern Ukraine, following elections condemned by the United Nations, the United States, the European Union, and Kiev as illegal and destabilizing. Ukraine's President Petro Poroshenko.
Позавчора на території Донецька і Луганська
U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry calls the U.S. China relationship the most consequential in the world today. Secretary Kerry is taking an overseas trip that includes a stop in Beijing. He says the United States and China have a profound opportunity to build a constructive course on a number of issues, including climate change and global trade. Secretary Kerry says disagreements over human rights, cyber theft, and maritime security will also be under discussion. Hundreds of thousands of Shiite pilgrims have gathered in the holy Iraqi city of Karbala for the annual Ashura commemoration. They're doing that despite the threat of Sunni extremist attacks. Iraq security forces have deployed tens of thousands of troops to protect the pilgrims who are observing the 7th century death of Prophet Muhammad's grandson Hussein, one of Shiite Islam's most revered figures. Sunni militants from the Islamic State group have claimed responsibility for multiple deadly attacks against Shiites who are traveling to Karbala for Ashura. Two bomb attacks killed at least 4 people Tuesday in Pakistan's northwest tribal region of Khyber. There's been no claim of responsibility. Police and eyewitnesses in eastern Pakistan say an angry crowd attacked and beat a married Christian couple to death after accusing them of desecrating a Koran. The mob later burned the bodies in the brick kiln where the victims worked. The deadly incident took place Tuesday in a town about 60 kilometers southwest of Lahore. Provincial authorities have launched an investigation and ordered police to increase security at minority Christian neighborhoods across Punjab. The European Union cut its already low economic growth forecast further, indicating the recovery in EU countries will remain sluggish. Officials from the 18-country Eurozone say it will grow by just 0.8% this year. And that's down from an earlier figure of 1.2%. Pierre Moscovici, the European Union Commissioner for Economic and Financial Affairs, Taxation and Customs, says that France and Italy remain a hindrance to European economic recovery. And Israel reopened 2 border crossings with Gaza after closing them for 2 days. They were closed Sunday after a rocket was fired into Israel from the Palestinian side. There were no injuries. I'm Ray Kouguell in Washington.
That's the latest world news from VOA.